The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Broadcasters Podcast, where we dive deep into the media industry headlines and dissect the digital disruption that diverges the masses into the new media counterculture and away from the media establishment. Here is the King of Podcasts.
Cocaine Bear. We're going to talk about that tonight. A chance for a movie with such a ridiculous name that could actually go ahead and break through the mold of the Tentpole superhero movies, all the rehashed, re-identified, recycled intellectual property that all these major studios have. Could this be the one that breaks everything? It's not Marlowe. It's not The Menu. It's not Babylon. It's not Amsterdam. Maybe it's Cocaine Bear. When I saw the promos for that, was pretty funny. But yeah, it's got a commendable audience, a lot of familiar people in it. And when you look at it, okay, it's Kerry Russell, Jersey Tyler Ferguson, O'Shea Jackson Jr. are all in this movie. And I don't know, people just thought it was a good idea. But there's a whole story behind Cocaine Bear and Alex she got put together. I'll take from Hollywood Reporter first. In the movie's introduction, they make it a point of saying that after a 500-pound black bear consumes a significant amount of cocaine and embarks on a drug-fueled rampage, an eccentric gathering of cops, criminals, tourists, and teenagers assemble in a Georgia forest. That's the plan of this. And by the way, this is the last film that Ray Liotta was in before he passed. And there was a lot of talk about that Ray Liotta was one of the people who were responsible for this movie to actually happen. The story is based on the true story of a former narcotics officer and drug smuggler, Andrew C. Thornton II. He dropped a bag of cocaine from his plane while he followed down with a parachute. The parachute didn't open, and Thornton died. The cocaine was found and ingested by an American black bear who would also later die. And the thriller follows what would happen if the bear had lived through the ordeal. There's a lot of people in this, by the way. Kerry Russell, Matthew Reese, which this is them together. It's just the Americans. Remember them? Alden Ehrenreich, O'Shea Jackson, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Margot Martindale. And Cocaine Bear is written by Jimmy Warden, and it's coming out this weekend. What a ridiculous movie. Now, here's the thing that's got to be considered. Universal Pictures has taken chances with other commercial products that mashed different film genres. Cocaine Bear is thriller, action, and comedy. Megan, which started at the start of the year, horror, sci-fi, comedy. And Violent Night, which they're actually going to make a second one, the Christmas movie over the last from last December, holiday, action, and comedy. And so this is the part we're going to go and see about this year to see what's going to do. And the people that are brought in to do this movie on top of that, which is ridiculous. Also, they have some other people that are brought into this movie. Isaiah Whitlock Jr., if you remember from The Wire, right? Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Excellent actor, awesome. The last movie I remember that we had that was horror and comedy was The Hunt. Remember the one that came out? What was the last movie I saw before pandemic started? Was it March 2020? Yes, I think that's what it was. What was the last? Because I remember we're not going to see movies for a while, so I said I'm going to go catch something no matter what it is, and I caught The Hunt. I remember that. It was okay. It was watchable. But this is something where we're going to see how this actually works out and see if it actually becomes something that could really be out there. So now, the movie is always going to be called Cocaine Bear. At one point, it was Untitled Bear Comedy for a while. So the bear, which has been dubbed Cokie, was designed by Peter Jackson's Weta FX company, the people that created the characters in King Kong, Lord of the Rings, and Avatar. They studied actual things that crazy things that bears can do, bear movements and stuff, and then goosed it up a bit. Elizabeth Banks, is the producer of this movie, wanted to create a photorealistic bear that was basically a documentary of a bear that was on cocaine. I think we succeeded. Now, there's a bear stunt performer who was doing the whole thing with the bear in the woods, and they go again and talk to some of the characters that are in this movie. And when Elizabeth Banks was asked about doing this movie. She's told the crowd she's worked with Steven Spielberg and Oliver Stone, worked in franchises like The Hunger Games and the Lego Movie, launched a franchise in Pitch Perfect, relaunched a game show in Press Your Luck. No, she didn't. That's not that good, sorry. Emmy nominated for 30 Rock and directed a few films along the way. I'm fully convinced that everything has brought me to this moment in my career, the pinnacle, the rich and deeply cerebral Cocaine Bear. I hope it's good. Hey, Elizabeth, I actually watched Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. I did see that. A little bit over the top, but I did watch it. I'll say that. Cocaine Bear this weekend. That's some funny shit right there. I'm really curious how it's going to turn out. I want to take another story that talks about how this is really going to make a big impact in Hollywood and the box office this weekend, hopefully. And at the moment, by the way, Cocaine Bear, if I'm correct, did I see that right? Did I see the Cocaine Bear on Rotten Tomatoes? At the moment, at the beginning, it was 100% fresh by the critics. Currently, 70% for critics, 82% audience score. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's a quick 90 minutes. A pretty good, respectable cast. And so let's get into it. A story from Lockhaven.com and The Express. They wrote that Cocaine Bear is here to strike a blow to staid Hollywood. For the EP, by the way, the Associated Press reported the following from Blue Ridge, Georgia, December 22nd, 1985. Imagine if you saw this story in The Wire. Investigators searching for cocaine dropped by an airborne smuggler have found a ripped-up shipment of the sweet-smelling powder and the remains of a bear that apparently died of a multi-million-dollar high. Police found a sad scene, a 175-pound black bear dead near a duffel bag, and some $2 million worth of cocaine that had been opened and scattered over a hillside. The parachutist, a former Kentucky narcotics investigator, fell to his death at a backyard in Knoxville, Tennessee. His unmanned plane crashed into a North Carolina mountain. Back in Georgia, the bear examiner said he'd overdosed. That is the movie. So Jimmy Warden, screenwriter, loaned this movie to Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, producers. The script titled Cocaine Bear. And Phil Lord would say when the movie was pitched, you hear the word cocaine, you're like, I'm not sure what to think of this. Then when you hear the word bear, you're like, I'm all in. Cocaine Bear is a real movie. After it opens this Friday, it might even be a hit. At a time when Hollywood can feel prepackaged, the makers of Cocaine Bear think it can be an untamed exception. Little on the movie calendar has captured the public imagination quite like Cocaine Bear. When people just see that if you're going to a place and you're looking, Cocaine Bear, think about that. Cocaine Bear. I still can't believe when I first heard about it. Now, Phil Lord continues to talk about this, about the fact that he even be able to get this movie into theaters in the first place, get it into exhibition. And this is not a movie that's being put to streaming, which if Cocaine Bear was put to Netflix, I'm sure a lot of people would go ahead and pawn on this and would really think this is like a goofy movie. I wouldn't take it seriously. But Cocaine Bear is in theaters. It's going to be in theaters. Now, Miller and Lord, they have been part of some of the most vibrant and irreverent movies on the screen. The Lego Movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, The Mitchells vs. the Machines. They take apart old conventions and give them an absurdist postmodern spin. Now, Miller says, well, this movie wasn't mandated by a corporation. It's a thing we somehow snuck through the system. That's how we love to make all our movies. Like, I can't believe they let us get away with this. Now, Warden, who wrote the script, was a production assistant when they worked on the 2012 action comedy 21 Jump Street. And after hearing about the 1985 story, Warden wrote the script on spec, hoped his old bosses would like it. On a screenplay's possibility, the producers found an unexpectedly open reception from Universal Pictures chief Donald Langley. Quote, while funny is that we thought it would be difficult because of the subject matter, but surprisingly, they were excited right from the jump and didn't shy away from the movie, its tone, or even its title. We thought at some point, someone's going to say, well, you can't call it Cocaine Bear. You have to call it A Walk in the Woods. But Elizabeth Banks has carved out a second career behind camera. She did do 2019's Charlie's Angels. And Elizabeth Banks, for whatever reason, they thought this is the right director for it, or the right producer. So now, Banks talks about this and says, most people are surprised this is a real thing. I'm very surprised I'm the person that made it. I just got a text from someone who was like, Elizabeth Banks is directing this movie. She said, I've been hearing about this movie and I had no idea you made it. Though the title meant Cocaine Bear would be limited from some advertising platforms, the filmmakers described the studio as interested in leaning into what made the film distinct, that are all the options viewers that are inundated with. Nothing could cut through all the noise like Cocaine Bear. The film itself takes the basis of the real story and imagines what it might have transpired if the bear didn't quickly die but went on a coke-fueled rampage through a national forest, terrorizing park wardens, campers, drug dealers seeking the lost shipment. After initial taste, the bear goes after more cocaine with the zeal of a yogi pursuing a picnic basket. Now, Lord and Miller, there's a rising realization within the film industry that movies are audaciously original compact theaters. And they're using everything, everywhere, all at once as recent proof. And Lord says, if you can win Best Picture and it's the zaniest idea out there, for the skill of that movie, it's a huge hit. What we're after is demonstrating that these movies can be original and fun and surprising, and they can be hits. So, I'm curious to see how it works out and how it's going to do overall. It's an interesting story. So, I will see Cocaine Bear in theaters this Friday or tomorrow night when I'm recording, as I record this. Let's see how it works out. I got a few bits of music news I want to get into, music and radio news, that we should go and talk about in the area of AI. So Spotify, they are now using generative AI for lyric writing and the use of voice mimicking. Well, that's part of the things we're seeing right now in the music industry, that AI is starting to make its way in. So now, Spotify has a new feature powered by its own personalization tech, as well as by voice and generative AI. A DJ feature, which is like a DJ in your pocket. It serves as a personalized AI guide that knows you and your music taste so well that it can choose what to play for you. And the company's already rolling out in beta, and it will deliver a curated playlist of music alongside commentary around the tracks and artists it thinks you will like. It will deliver a narrated and a stunningly realistic voice using a so-called dynamic AI voice platform. And they're using for their acquisition of London-based AI voice startup Sonanic. And it was launched in 2018 by Zena Karashi and John Flynn, which have backgrounds in speech and language therapy to Hollywood sound production. And by the way, Sonanic built a custom AI voice model for Val Kilmer and Top Gun Maverick. Now, Spotify says that they're using the personality and voice resonating with listeners, resulting in a loyal following for the podcast. That's the first part, is Spotify doing that. And then radio's doing it. Now we're seeing it where radio has their certain thing as well. So what they have now is Futuri, which is creating radio GPT, creating AI-powered on-air content. So AI voice tech and Futuri's Topic Pulse to create a script for on-air use and turn the script into audio. Beta partners already include Alpha Media and Canada through Rogers Sports and Media. Now, they say that it uses Topic Pulse technology, which scans Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and 250,000 other sources of news and information to identify which topics are trending in a local market. And then Radio GPTs creates a script for on-air use and AI voices. Turn that script into compelling audio. And there are a number of voices for single, duo, or trio hosted shows. And the AI can be trained with your existing personalities' voices. They're saying it's available for individual day parts or for the powering the entire station. It's like how Jelly was around to just program the music. Now they have this to go and program everything. And people can go and check out what they're doing at radiogpt.ai. So, radio itself and Spotify are getting into the artificial intelligence. We heard about this going on. Notice the metaverse doesn't get talked about much anymore. Do you notice that? Never hear that much at all. There's that part. One other story I want to go and bring up before we wrap things up. It's a short show this week, folks. Not much going on. I'm really waiting for some new things to come up that'll really kind of blow up the spot. But like the news has been quiet. But the normal things I will be talking about, there's not much. But nevertheless, show will be about 20 minutes long tonight. That's just what it is. Now, another story that's coming in right now is radio coming back to Congress about the on-air music use royalties. And radio has reached out to Congress, and they say the following. Together, there's a joint resolution in all 50 state broadcast associations representing stations, including the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, urging members of Congress to reject the bill backed by the music industry. Now, supporters this month reintroduced the American Music Fairness Act, or the AMFM Act. If passed, it would require broadcast stations to pay royalties when they spin records, and the smallest operations with less than $100,000 in annual revenue would pay $10 per year in on-air radio royalties. Between $100,000 and $1.5 million in revenue would pay $100 per year if it's public and $500 if it's commercial. The other stations would be left up to the Copyright Royalty Board, with the bill requiring it to develop 5-year licensing agreements between the music industry and radio. This joint resolution says that it flies in the face of the symbiotic relationship that has existed between radio and music for nearly a century, and would upset the mutually beneficial relationship between the two. Now, there's a state leadership conference coming up with the National Association of Broadcasters at next month, or at the end of this month, and the NAB expects more than 550 broadcasters from across the country in Washington to advocate face-to-face with members of Congress and their staffs on radio and TV industry issues. So now radio wants to go ahead and put a united front to stop the royalties from being accrued to the radio stations, to keep it the way it is. I'm wondering how the streamers are going to be doing anything about this, if they're going to jump in and do something themselves. Or if the music industry is going to come in on a united front and say, no, we don't want radio to be skipped over. They're going to pay too. At this point, music probably would expect radio to go and pay anyway. More or less. It's just what's going to happen now. I want to give one quick congratulations because I thought something was really cool to see in the Billboard charts this week. The fact that Linkin Park, they're putting out a 20th anniversary album of edition of Meteora, their album that came out in 2001. And the plan is that they already put out one song that was unreleased. They did not make the original Meteora album, but was added in this deluxe, this extended edition. The song Lost. And it's already charted up at number 36 on the Billboard Hot 100, the Billboard Hot 100, excuse me. And on the official chart, which of course will get replenished coming this week, in the UK, Lost made its way. It's really weird in the UK right now. Made up to number 18. Debuted at number 18. Price is going to go up. And you know what's also amazing over there in the UK? The fact that Miguel's Sure Thing, song from 2010, is now, was as high as number 5 and dropped one notch at as high as number 4. Got the number 5 right now on the current official chart. Because the song never charted in the UK before. It is now. And it got to a top 5 single. How about that? And as far as I know, that song, when it comes to the market here, I just want to make sure I know this, but I don't know how high that song actually reached here in the States. The current setup was in 2011 and 2012. The song charted on the Billboard Hot 100 at number 36 back then. The R&B hip-hop songs chart, number 1. Rhythmic, number 14. And now the song's come back up, and now it's charting all over the world again. On the Billboard Hot 100, it got up to number 30. And at the moment now, it's gone as high as number 4 in New Zealand, number 6 Ireland, number 8 Lithuania, number 6 Australia, and the UK number 4. It still has a chance to move up. Quite impressive. So congratulations to him. See if he puts out some new music as well. That's the show tonight, folks. It's a short one. But, you know, what am I going to do? Spend an extra, 40 minutes to talk about Cocaine Bear? No. That's what I'm talking about next week. If there is, I'll let you know about it. So come back next week for another Broadcasters podcast. Until then, remember the content is king, and the control of your content is in your hands.
Thank you for listening to the Broadcasters Podcast. Find all the links to subscribe to the show by going to broadcasterspodcast.com. And don't forget to check out the King of Podcasts wrestling program, the Wrestling is Real podcast, exclusively at wrestlingisreal.com.